Speaking of Europe, the archaeological record is crystal clear on the fact that during the Bronze Age, let's say around 2000 BCE, which is at least 1,000 years before the fall of the Kingdom of Israel, the Celtic peoples and the Germanic peoples were already living in northwestern Europe. And we know from modern DNA research that aside from more recent immigrants, these Bronze Age peoples are the direct ancestors of those who currently live in these same areas, and of the majority of those Europeans who went on to settle in the United States and Canada. In addition to this, there is absolutely no evidence in the archaeological record or in DNA studies to indicate that a group of people from the Middle East entered this area, replacing the previous inhabitants during or after the Iron Age, which is when the so-called Lost 10 Tribes were supposedly lost. In other words, there is an archaeological and genetic continuity in northwestern Europe that is very, very old.
All right, the next point he makes is that the Celts and the Germanic peoples, which are the Scythians and the Cimmerians, the Cimmerians were known by the Greeks as the Celts. He says that these people were already in Europe when the Israelites were dwelling in the Middle East. Therefore, the Israelites cannot be the Celtic peoples. And then, of course, he cites DNA studies. However, this is an old theory that's been discarded. New studies have shown with DNA that the Celts did migrate from the Middle East to Europe. I want to show you this clip that actually proves that fact. Take a look at this clip.
Historians have traditionally seen the Celts as just another Germanic tribe that migrated west from Central Europe. But a relatively new scientific study has found genealogical evidence to the contrary. Dr. Mark Jobling from the Department of Genetics at the University of Leicester published a journal on the Y chromosomal lineages of the Celts. In this journal, the lineage of European male Y chromosomes were tested and analyzed, with DNA evidence strongly supporting the theory that Celtic men spread from a single source from the Near East, or Middle East as it's more commonly called. What is fascinating about the findings in this journal is that the route in which the migration occurred is entirely mappable. Moving through modern-day Turkey, across Europe, and in particular around the Mediterranean coastline and the Iberian Peninsula, through the Gibraltar Straits, and up along the coast of Western Europe into the British Isles, is a clearly defined path. The increases in frequency and reduction in diversity from east to west of the Y chromosome supports a rapid expansion, as a fading trail of the chromosome shows the path of migration from the Middle East to the region where the Celtic people reside today. The study estimates that the time frame of expansion was approximately over a period of 4,500 years, and that this likely happened from 7,000 BC until as recently as 2,500 BC. But regardless of the accuracy of their dating methods, the migration did occur. And there is a corroborating historical document that I would like to cross-examine with the scientific research, which may suggest a more recent date for the migration. Written in 1320 by Scottish barons and nobles and submitted to Pope John XXII, the Declaration of Arbroath is Scotland's claim for independence. The document describes the sovereignty of its people and supports Jobling's claim by describing how they came to settle in the British Isles. We know, and from the chronicles and books of the ancients, we find that among other famous nations, our own, the Scots, has been graced with widespread renown. It journeyed from Greater Scythia by way of the Tyrrhenian Sea and the Pillars of Hercules, and dwelt for a long course of time in Spain among the most savage peoples. Thence it came, 1,200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea, to its home in the west, where it still lives today. These nobles firmly believed that their ancestors migrated from east to west, following the exact pattern as described in the journal on the Celtic Y chromosome. These men share the DNA evidence that corroborates their historical records.
Let me just add that some people say that because of DNA results, British Israelism cannot be true, because we see the Northern Europeans belonging to the RB1 haplogroup, and we see the Jews belonging to the J1, J2 haplogroup, and therefore they cannot be Israelites. However, and I'll put this article up if anybody wants to look at it, This article plainly says that the length of separation, together with inevitable foreign infusion on both sides, environmental influences, genetic drift, etc., is more than enough to explain any differences that may exist between the two bodies. So to try and disprove British Israelism through genetics is just an argument that has been disproved over and over again.